monumental move. President Joe Biden announces he will drop out of the 2024 race.
In a statement released Sunday, Biden touted his accomplishments within his first term, but said he believes it's in the best interest of his party and country to end his campaign. He says he will focus on the rest of his term and that he will provide more details on his decision later this week.
It follows weeks of speculation and mounting pressure within the Democratic Party following the first presidential debate when Biden's performance raised concerns over his ability to serve another 4 years. Biden is 81 years old, already the oldest sitting president. In just a moment, we'll hear from News 5 political analyst Eric Stanton on Biden's departure from the campaign and what that means for moving forward. But first, we're taking a look at how we got here. President Biden's campaign took a tailspin in a matter of about 3 weeks. It was June 27th when the candidates met on stage to debate. The 81-year-old often trailed off and gave nonsensical answers. Disastrous performance led to the first Democratic lawmaker publicly calling on him to step down on July 2nd. More lawmakers joined the chorus, and the president held his first solo press conference in months on July 11th, addressing the mounting concerns, but vowing to stay in the race. That came during the NATO alliance's yearly summit. Former President Donald Trump survived an assassination attempt that weekend at a rally in Pennsylvania. Biden condemned the violence and called for unity. California Congressman Adam Schiff becomes the highest profile lawmaker to call on Biden to drop out of the race on July 17th. Many Democrats voiced concerns that Biden's candidacy would impact races up and down the ticket. That same day, President Biden tested positive for COVID-19, ratcheting up concerns about his age and health. He traveled to Delaware to self-isolate. Meanwhile, Republicans held their national convention in Milwaukee, uniting the party behind Donald Trump and J.D. Vance.
That brings us to a follow-up from President Biden's statement bowing out of the race, throwing his support behind Vice President Kamala Harris. And here to talk with us a little bit more about the impact of this decision is our political analyst, Eric Stanton with Northeast State Community College. Thank you for being here with us today.
My pleasure as always.
So what happens next?
Well, what happens next is really anybody's guess at this point. We've been saying since May, June, that time period that me personally, I didn't believe that Joe Biden was going to be the nominee. I was saying that until the convention met. So we kind of saw this coming, but this is what's going to happen, and this is what has to happen at this point, is right now Kamala Harris has to get the 1,986 delegates needed to become the Democrat Party nominee. As we sit here right now, Kristen, she has about 1,000. So the chances are pretty good she's going to get it. And like we were just talking about off camera a minute ago, time is of the essence. A lot of states have different deadlines on when their ballots go on concrete, so to speak, to where they can't be changed. One that's just right around the corner is Nevada. So the Democrats only have a few days to get their nominee in there and who they're going to have on the ballot. If they do not, then they're going to have a write-in campaign. So obviously time is of the essence for them. And I would say within the next day or so, you're going to know who her pick is, and you're going to know that she's the Democrat nominee.
And do you think there will be other people that throw their names out there?
I would hope so, but you know, the problem with this whole thing is and I personally don't necessarily like what has happened to President Biden. It was a wise thing for him to step out based on his mental and physical conditions. However, it negates the millions of votes that the Democrats gave to their nominee. This is who the Democrats wanted to run for president. And then just like this, in just a few short seconds, the elite of the Democrat Party has decided that they basically want somebody else. And they did that by stopping funding, stopping money coming in the campaign, stuff of that nature. So it actually negates what the voters wanted. Now, if they could go back and ask the Democrats now, are you good with this? And they all say yes, then that would be good. But I get very concerned when the people aren't allowed to have a voice and that you're just looking at 1,986 delegates that get to decide for all the Democrats out there.
Another question that people are wanting to know, too, is what happens with all the money, all the campaign money that's been raised?
The easiest point legally, and that's a great question, and by the way, there's been a lot of attorneys behind the scenes trying to figure all these things out. It's been a lot of moving parts. This thing just didn't, even though the announcement was made yesterday, this thing's been in the works for some time, folks. This is just something that doesn't happen overnight. overnight. So what happens with all the money? The easiest way is because Vice President Harris was already on the ticket, then she is entitled to that money. Now, here's what's interesting. We were talking about this as well before we went on the air tonight. In the last 24 hours, if you look at small donors, small individual donors, the Democrat Party has already raised over $1 million. Now, this is huge if you're a Republican out there, because what this should say to you, to my Republican friends out there, is that you got a re-energized Democrat Party that's ready to go ahead, and they are energized, they are excited, and Republicans are going to have to really look at and counter this, because again, the Democrats are very good, as we've been talking about for the last year, about getting the vote out and getting people to the polls. Republicans not so well. Democrats will start here in September and October with early voting, and it'll be game day for them all the way to November 5th. Republicans need to do the same thing, because I'm telling you, if you look at those individual donors, that's huge.
Definitely interesting and something we're going to keep following. Thank you so much. Eric Stanton with Northeast State Community College.